Hello and welcome again to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Good to see you.
Welcome. Good to see you too. Khaled, where have you been since the last time that we've met and we spoke? How's life with you going?
Everything still going on track. Everything going okay. Still teaching. Still preaching that motivation, that mindset, that growth mindset. And I feel like I'm reaching more people and spreading that message a little bit better.
Wonderful. In this conversation this time, I was planning to get in touch onto more of the problem of the education system.
Mm.
So from what I remember is that you decided to leave, let's say, schools and the common or the current education system and move on to like a new habit. Sorry, not a habit, let's say a new way or methodology of your own. Can you please tell me why did that shift happen?
Yeah, for one thing, I'll make a small correction here. Is actually
Sure.
I was never a formal teacher in a school. I was working as an engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and I always had tutoring. Was doing tutoring for since I was probably like 14 or 15.
See?
Even professionally as a part time job. Right, I put my entrepreneur hat on when I was probably 16 and started getting paid $20 an
Yeah.
hour or whatever for teaching, for doing math, which for me was easy and fun, and I like teaching. But yes, I definitely have fresh eyes. I'm kind of like an outsider, right? Which is part of why my approach has always been a little bit different, because I approach teaching the same way that I approach learning,
Mm-hmm.
which is I keep a very, very open mind. Again, I want to set the tone right away. If we're going to be talking about schools and teachers, I have nothing but respect for teachers. It's the most noble profession, and it's extremely difficult. And I have many colleagues who are actually teachers. I've even hired some tutors who are actual teachers. They're just overloaded, and I think So what I mean is, when I speak, I don't want to speak from a place of judgment, any personal judgment to anybody. It's just the system's not working, like you were saying. And coming as an outsider,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that the focus, in my opinion, the main problem is the focus has completely shifted from learning onto just pure grades, standardized exams. It's very uniform. It hasn't changed in 100 years, 150 years, right? I'm sure by now we've all seen the videos and heard the speeches. You raise your hand to speak and you get a letter grade and you're labeled with that grade. You have to take permission to use the bathroom. Yet it's very restrictive. Everybody's in a It's a very cookie cutter model, right? You're taught the same curriculum and you have zero choice in it. You only have a choice, I think, by grade 9 or 10. You decide if you want to do business track or science track. That's about as far as it goes. Otherwise, they teach you they tell you what to learn. You are an empty vessel and they fill you, as opposed to have it be more a cooperative kind of situation where you are actually involved in your own learning. Imagine you want to learn something, and for about 15 years, you can't. Not at school. At school, it's already decided for you. For 15 years, it's insane to me. The system definitely needs to change. I believe even schools are starting to realize and starting to let loose on this. And another thing I'm seeing that schools are doing is they're getting these wellness experts. So it's not just the guidance counselor. You have, head of wellness or student well-being officers, which are actually looking at the psychological and emotional well-being of students. And I think that's fantastic.
Speaking of the empty vessels, w-
Mm.
like when I'm trying to think about it in like a practical point of view, what does it serve to teach everyone just the same? Like, what does it serve to teach, like, for the education system to teach everyone the exact same information without giving them, let's say, the luxury of choice? For example, let's say me, I'm someone who's into fitness and nutrition, and
Right.
I have been ever since I was young. So why don't I go into that path ever since I was younger? Why is it that we had to wait for now to learn about it? Did you see my point?
I do. I
Yeah.
absolutely do. Um, my first instinct is to tell you exactly why.
Mm,
Why do you have to wait so long? But there is something to be said. Okay, I'm under no illusion that if you give students the choice, that anybody will actively, maybe 1 out of 100 people will try to learn physics on their own.
mhm,
They'll probably want to do PE all day, or they want to maybe read or write. A lot of people will not choose to do certain things, which, let's call them, what people will call more difficult subjects.
mm.
Again, I'm not putting any subject ahead of another, but
Okay.
some of them require more work, more analytical skills, or more fine skills, let's say. But the thing is, our job is to expose students to all these things. So in this sense, I don't mind forcing, treating somebody like an empty vessel, at least in the beginning stages, to introduce students to different topics. It's like me when we were children. My father used to make us try different things. He took us skiing, for example. He taught us swimming. He does this. Some stuff will stick and some stuff will not. And as a parent, as an educator, same thing with my girls. My job is to expose them to these things, and to nudge them a little bit to really try. If you try something once, that's not trying at all. Once doesn't count. At least twice, right? First time you don't know what you're doing. You can't appreciate. You're just in the rumble and tumble of things.
Yeah.
Second time you see it, you're a little calmer. You're a little bit. You can actually grasp what's happening. So you force them to try once or twice, and then sometimes it catches on. But other than that, I agree with you. If you see somebody's, since a young age he's playing piano, let's focus on the piano. No need to ignore everything, but I
Mhm.
don't think it needs to be, again, I say cookie cutter, like everybody one size fit all. It's, I don't know, it's mind boggling to me that it's one size fit all for the entire duration of your education. It's crazy.
Because like
Until
when I think
university, I
about it,
guess.
when I think about it from a point of view, or let's say developing a country, or developing, let's say, a nation, in a sense, um, like like always enforcing the same subject and not leaving a room for creativity creates more of a follower of a system rather than, um, let's say, innovative, let's say, personality.
Innovative,
Am
creative,
I,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that unfortunately that's the point. You're trying to make 9 to 5
Mhm.
people, 9 to 5. I want to say
Fit
robots,
into a
but
nine
I
to
don't want to
five
be
kind
mean
of
there. But
a,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You're trying to make people show up at 9 or 8 or whatever it may be, sit in rows in uniform, raise their hand to speak, don't talk to your neighbor till it's recess. You have 15 minutes. It's very, very strict. Most schools, I'm talking about like 95% of schools, operate in that way. The curriculum is already made for you. The teacher has that. He's going to grade you. We're going to label you. You are set one, set two, set three. Um, it's made for people to follow, like you're saying, to become followers. It's not made to encourage innovation. It's not made to encourage creativity or creative thinking or even critical thinking at some point. I think last time we were talking about how deeply some systems are causing kids to just
Mhm.
memorize. There are students that I talked to them in the beginning of our working relationship, and I asked them for things like, do you know what this is? And they spit the definition right away. And then I say, can you say it in your own words?
Nothing.
Blank. Can you give me an example? Nada.
Mhm.
Why? Because he doesn't care. They don't care. Why would he try to understand? Last time I told you the student who said bounce instead of reflect, and they gave him a point off. That's exactly the situation. When they try to paraphrase in their own way, which is actually a sign of actually understanding something,
Yeah.
they kind of get penalized for it. So, they don't make the rules, but they're going to play the game. If you tell them that if you memorize and you give me word for word what I'll give you an A, why wouldn't they do it? They want to make people ready for the 9 to 5 world. It's the same machine. They want the cog for the machine.
You know what? Like it also feels like one of the reasons why, for example, people try to cheat to pass in exams, and that. With that being said, it's because they only care about passing. For example, some of them they don't really care about what they're learning. They just are there to pass,
Absolutely.
no matter how. And when you mention that they cannot even it means that they are just memorizing without even thinking about it, without even thinking about the concept.
Exactly. It's a very shallow understanding. Maybe they do understand, but not deeply. You know how the mark for me, the mark of a student who understands something or is learning something is actually when they ask questions.
Hmm.
When they ask questions, I know, خلاص, I have him. He's gonna learn it. He's gonna understand it. Students who are doing this empty vessel, who are playing the role of the empty vessel like they've been taught, have a very shallow understanding. Man, you might be very bright, right? You might be very bright and you don't ask questions. Not true. Not true at all. The brightest students are the ones who keep asking questions. They
Trying to
think
understand.
of different angles. You have to understand from here and from there and from up and from down. They catch something and they connect it to other things and they try to connect it to other areas of learning. And then they want to take it one step further and they start asking stuff which is outside the curriculum. And it's beautiful. When a student asks me things, we start talking about water pressure. And then they start telling me about, well, one time I was scuba diving, right? And I found it a little harder to breathe when I was down. And then they start relating it to their own life. Now, this student starts asking very interesting questions, right? That's the mark of true understanding. That's the mark of understanding. Shallow understanding is when you understand the definition, you understand the words. Words are very good. Language is very good. But it doesn't show a deep understanding, especially now. In my mind, I'm thinking of physics and science.
Yeah.
But even math has been taught in a very mechanical way. But math is also a language, and math has theories, and you can actually understand numbers and what things are doing. Students who just memorize steps are about C students,
Hmm.
60, 70% at best. If you don't understand what's happening, once any small thing changes, you are lost. You are lost. I agree to some degree. To some degree, there is a very mechanical, methodical approach to math more than other subjects. But if you don't understand what you're doing, it's not going to get you far. And that's how everybody is with everybody. I mean, that's how every school is approaching things. They're approaching it very rote, like a child who can count to 10, right? My kid, when she was 2.5, she would count to 10, right? And I would
Hmm.
put 3 cubes in front of her and I'd say, how many cubes? And she'd say, 9. She has no idea what numbers are. She's just saying them like ABCs. So what's the point of rote understanding? They can memorize a definition, but they can't describe it. What's the point? It's shallow.
So let's say now you have the capacity
To set the rules, let's say to set the education system in place. What can we do? What changes can we start on from zero, for example? How can we reset things? How can we
I
improve
mean,
the education system for the future generations?
number one thing, in my opinion, is what I told you last time, I think. Involve them in their learning. Involve them in their own learning, as in let them choose a little bit what to learn. It's too much to ask of anybody, let alone a child or even a teenager who's developing their personality, from a young age, and then they're really how can I put this? They're actually coming out of their shell at this point. Let them be involved. Let them choose something. Let them reach out to the community and have the community help them out. If you want to learn about sharks, let me put you in touch with the aquarium. You want to learn about, our community is full of engineers and you want to be a med student, help them, hook them up with somebody, a doctor, something. Don't just keep it in the classroom and tell them what to study. Show them how to learn. Show them how to learn. Show them the
exposure,
resources. Excuse me?
exposing them to the
Yes,
thing.
expose them to different things. Expose them to the resources. Teach them how to use AI. Teach them how to, at this point, to be honest with you, they should have a class on AI, on how to use AI. Teaching them
Yeah.
how to learn is completely missing from school. They don't teach you how to learn, they tell you what to learn. And it's a shame. This is the number one thing I would say. Involve them in their learning. Okay? Show them how to learn. Involve the community. Teach them how to find their own resources, including people in the community, which is abundant. And AI. Definitely incorporate AI. Most teachers will tell you, don't use AI. I don't. I do the opposite. I tell them, you need to use AI or you will get left behind. And I want to make it clear, I don't mean go copy. I don't mean ask ChatGPT to write your essay. That's no good. That's not good. And there's checkers now where if you use ChatGPT, I can put it in a checker. But now they have anti-checker, so you can use ChatGPT, then you can put it in a thing that humanifies it, and then when I check, it won't say. But now there's a checker to check the checker. It's like a race, arms race right now between teachers and students. No need. Don't make it taboo. If you make something taboo, people are gonna run towards it. You know what I
No.
mean? Don't do that. Just embrace it. I think embrace it.
Yeah,
But
the
yeah,
role
not
of AI now is going to be like as we go forward. People are afraid usually nowadays of
AI replacing people when it comes to the workplace and so on. But I think
I don't know.
um, the way we should think about it is how to use it to make work more efficient. Because it can be just
Absolutely.
a tool. It can be just a tool to make the production more and more while humans are still using it. So we can make the human more productive using AI. Same thing with
Yes,
education.
100%. 100%. Exactly. I remember the story with farming, right? When farming was ongoing, and
Hmm.
then there was an invention of the tractor, for example.
Hmm.
And then people said, "Well, the tractor, that's no good. It's going to put us farmers out of a job." And some of them did, but
Hmm.
many of them, what happened? They embraced it. They used this machine, this tool, and it freed them up to study agriculture, and they
Hmm.
maybe became agricultural engineers, and they improved their crop overall. Same thing with the bank machines, ATM. Oh, it's going to put all tellers out of business. It didn't put tellers out of business. It made banks better. More banks, more branches, more people get hired. There's people who fix ATMs, who design them, security. There's a thousand, the technology of it, the software, excuse me, and the technology and the hardware. There's jobs to be made. AI will replace some jobs, but it will also create opportunities. This is the
True.
problem. Which side are you on? Are you on the side that says, "Oh, AI is going to take my job," or "AI is going to make me lazy"? Well, you're looking at it the wrong way, in my opinion. In fact, we were talking about things that can change at school. I believe AI should be used to match teacher and student. What's the problem with matching teachers and students? Right now, it's an impossible job to
Yeah.
match. 30. If you have hundreds of kids in a grade and you have 6 or 7 teachers, it's hard to match which personality fits who. There's different learning styles, isn't there? Audio and auditory, excuse me, visual, kinesthetic. How do you match different styles, aggressive or caring, or some people need tough love and some people need a more gentle approach? There's nothing wrong with that. Some
Yeah.
people like a lot of detail, some people like independence. You can use AI to match teacher and student. That would be fantastic, I think. This is
That's
something that's
Really
overlooked
interesting,
again
صراحة.
in the cookie cutter situation that we're in now. It's one teacher teaches the same way to 30 kids, whoever you are. Again, I don't want to put down teachers. I'm generalizing here just to make a point. They teach the same curriculum in the same way to 30 people. It does not make sense. They don't have the luxury to personalize. Now, if somebody's really behind, I know the good teachers, they will put a little extra time with this one or that one. But overall, it's not. And if you can match them, match their style, it would be amazing. AI can be used for that. Again, it's this personalization. That's what's missing overall from school. When I tell you, let them learn what they want, show them the resources, show them how to find. Some people might like websites, some people might like community outreach or whatever. Some people have this style, the tough style or the detailed style. Some people like a little more laid back or a little gentle. If you can personalize it, it would send students' learning soaring. It would really, really improve the system.
The idea of personalizing, or let's say categorizing
teachers with students is actually pretty
Mhm.
amazing. I've never thought of it,
Yes,
but
it would
yeah,
be.
it makes a huge sense. Because just like
Definitely.
any, let's say, for example, just like matching in a relationship, you don't think that everyone is going to match with everyone. So
100%.
personalities are going to match with certain personalities to be able to communicate with them, deliver a message, understanding them, similar environment, way of thinking, and so on.
That's right. One of the most important things I always preach is student tutor connection. You can have a wonderful tutor and a very bright student, but if there's no connection, it doesn't yield the results
Hmm.
that you would imagine, or it doesn't reach the maximum potential that it could. I know also sometimes I'm working with a student and maybe they're a little bit reserved once, twice, 3 times. If after 3 times or something we still don't have a strong rapport, he's not getting the full effect. He's not getting the full package. And sometimes I tell the parents, or if you ask him, is he comfortable? He wants to continue. I'm happy to continue, but I don't know. Would you like to try a different tutor? Because student tutor connection is so underrated. So it would be the same with a teacher. For me, as a one-to-one, it's very easy. It's very easy for them to change, to hire somebody else. But in a school, you're kind of bound. So this is a way that we can help them. Yeah, you can styles. It would be wonderful, actually. And
How
AI
do
can
you,
help you do that, right? Yeah.
how do you approach this with your students? Like, how do you, for example, read their personality? How can you evaluate if he or she are able to understand you? Like, what results scheme would you evaluate on?
Obviously, I have to go by grades also,
Hmm.
let's put that out there. I have to check the grade. If the student is continuously failing exams, then, I'm not the right tutor, because we need to do both. We can say whatever we want about schools, but that's the system. That's the
Hmm.
game that we're forced to play. So we need to keep the grades up. So if their grades are low, that's obviously an indicator that it's probably not a good match. But on a real level, the way I understand it is their attitude in the lesson. The difference
Nice.
is remarkable when a student wants to be in the lesson versus a student who's forced to be there, who's just trying to get through. I think
The
we talked
time.
about this last time as well. Yeah, just trying to kill the time. And the funny thing is, when you try to kill time, time goes damn slowly, really slowly.
Yep.
When you're actually active and present, when you're actually present, it passes by fast. And another huge marker for me is the student is comfortable enough to ask questions. When they ask questions, I know they're comfortable and I know they're ready to learn. They're open. They might be a bit frustrated at first, but I have a very nice way. I'm very patient and I can appreciate that frustration. And we often get through it very, very well. But if they don't ask questions, then again, I can sense that they're not open yet. They're not open. The mark of somebody who's learning is somebody who's asking questions. If they don't ask questions at school and they gather them and they ask me questions, then I know at least there's definitely that rapport. Some students, honestly, they're very bright. They're missing a little few bits of information to connect the dots. And that's what I do for them. And that's what I teach them to do for themselves. I probably shouldn't say this, but eventually, the idea is they should be flying on their own. They should not need me for years and years and years.
Very true.
Sometimes they do, but they shouldn't. And I remind them, guys, don't ignore class and wait for Khaled. That's not the move. That's not the move. You want to learn what we learned together and then get back on track, and then I'll be here in case you need a refresher or something like that. But I often remind them that the end game is that they be self-sufficient, they be independent.
The
So yeah.
exact same thing I always tell my clients in personal training. I always
Hmm.
tell them I will not be here always for you. Reda is going to leave at one day. So whatever knowledge, whatever information you want, ask me and learn because I want you to keep doing this on your own even for later on.
That's it.
So the exact same concept. So yeah, thank you for
Exactly.
saying that. Yeah,
You know the deal.
yeah.
By the way, tactical games, wow,
Oh yeah, it was super
that was
fun.
so impressive. You are a beast. You're a beast,
It's
my
su
friend.
it's
My
super fun.
goodness.
It was super fun. Yeah, like
It
we
was,
went
yeah.
over there once and twice, and we have Hyrox now in April. I think I'm gonna be going April, May,
Amazing.
and August. Yeah, three more that we have.
Very cool. Yeah, good luck.
Thank you so much. Back to the education system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that we can do for, let's say, improving is personalizing the teaching methodology. Is there any way, do you think that changing the curriculum or updating it can also play a role in that? Or shall we keep on teaching the same information which we have had, let's say 100 years ago till now, at least when it comes to certain topics? What do you think of that? Like changing the curriculum on its own?
Yes, that's very interesting. Definitely the curriculum can use an update.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you what I mean. Some concepts are essential. Again, I'm thinking math, let's say, but even
Hmm.
language, basic language, English, grammar, spelling. Some of these rules, they're lifelong, okay? Or I don't want to say lifelong. Language is always evolving, but still, some rules are very standard and they need to be learned. Math as well, arithmetic, adding, multiplying. Arithmetic it is what it is.
Hmm.
What should be updated? The information is updated. When we find out new, scientific discoveries, they will be in books, right? My kids' history books will probably have coronavirus, how the world got shut down. So the information itself, I believe the content does get updated as fast as they can. I know it takes a long time, longer than people think, to put together a textbook. That's why you won't see coronavirus anytime soon. You'll see it probably years down the line. However, when it comes to some subjects, like let's call them soft skills, like motivation and how to battle depression for teenagers, and I know they have anti-bullying campaigns, so we won't touch on that. But again, motivating yourself and emotional intelligence, there is nothing on that in schools, unfortunately, and I think this is a huge lack, which I'm attempting to fill with this workshop I have, which is M cubed, M3, math mindset and motivation. Which I'm getting some good feedback, good responses on it, and I want to roll it out on a larger scale, hopefully. People don't understand these concepts, like for example, systems over willpower. This is a very big one. I think you can probably relate. If you'll allow me to give an example, is I always say my phone. I used to say, I'm going to charge my phone. I'm going to charge my phone. I used to always run out of battery, and I'd say, don't forget, charge your phone tonight. Half the time I would, and half the time I wouldn't. What did I do to solve this issue? I went on Amazon, and for like $30, I bought 3 chargers, one in the car, one in the office, one in the home. Now my battery is full all the time. This is putting systems in place. This is putting systems. When I first started out in tutoring, I had one site called myprivatetutor.ae, and it's basically classifieds where people, they say, I need a math tutor, I need a physics tutor, and I would cold call everybody. And then I would forget to call, and then I'd say, ooh, let me check it today. By the time I call, 9 other tutors have called this guy, and he says, I already found somebody, thank you. That's how fast it happened. So what did I do? I got on my phone. I swear to God, I put an alarm once every hour. Every hour on the hour from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., it would ring, call leads, call leads, call leads. Why am I killing myself trying to remember and getting frustrated? Oh, I forgot to call and somebody beat me to it. I just put 10 alarms and that's it. You know how many clients I got? I was always first. It was amazing. This is systems over willpower. I wouldn't drink my water because I say I got to drink more water. I wasn't able to, remember to drink more water. I got this dinky little bottle that, you turn it and it has a dot on it every time I drink. It's like a little reward system. That's it. It's small things, but these things you have to do for yourself, because if you just rely on willpower is finite. It's a finite resource. Motivation is fledgling. Some days you're up for it, some days you're not. Discipline is the way to go, right? Discipline. Do it tired, do it scared, do it when you're bored, when you're disappointed. You just go for it. You do it. You put these systems in place, and you take some of the difficulty out of it. You take some of the energy that you use battling these things or motivating yourself. You take it out. These are things that are not taught in schools by far. If you have a good teacher, he will, right? He'll mention it. I mention it to my students. But in general, why don't we put that in the curriculum? Why don't you make a class based on how to learn and how to motivate yourself and how to regulate your own emotions? It would be fantastic. Communication skills. How about that? I teach communication skills, body language, how to conduct an interview. These are essential skills that they can use not just in the workplace, but they can use by the time they get to college. You know how many colleges do interviews? People don't understand body language. If you sit like this in an interview, what does that say? I'm closed. Or you sit sideways a little bit, or you're always frowning. There's different things that you can teach. These are very interesting, applicable, practical, they're nowhere near sniffing a school curriculum, unfortunately.
Discipline is a big one. It's a really big one.
I
Like,
agree.
for example, I can measure it on my own, like when it comes to training and so on. Like sometimes I have to literally train at like 3:30 a.m. because I'm busy at work or so. And in my
Wow.
mind, like getting out of bed and going, let's say, for a run or training or so, I'm like, it sucks and I don't like it. But in my mind, I just have to do it. So I'm like, let me just
That's
push
right.
through it. I'll just do it because your mind is always gonna try to play these games on you. It's always gonna keep you in the
Absolutely.
comfort zone. It always wanna keep you relaxed. So even though it sucks, but like because I also it has to be done. So I just go for it. Like it's like a switch in my mind. I
Exactly.
click it and I just go do it.
I 100%, exactly what you said. For me now, it's a trigger at this point. When I say, no, I don't want to do it, it's like, oh, you don't go do it because
Yes,
you don't want to do it.
yes,
I'm at that point right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's built though. You know what I mean? This is what they don't know. They think the fixed mindset says, I'm either a disciplined person or I'm not. But that's not true. You build it. You build it every time you do it. When you didn't want to do it, you level up just a little bit and it becomes easier the next time. You're one step closer to being that. I tell my students, you want to be a good student? I tell them, don't say, I want to get an A. Say, I want to be a top student. I want to be a great student. Don't say, I want to read 30 books. Say,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a reader. Don't say,
Mm-hmm.
I want to work out more. No, say, I want to be an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Put that in your mindset. These kind of things really change the way you deal with adversity. When you get distracted, when you feel low, this is how you build your discipline. It's built. You have to do it bit by bit, and it's fantastic. Once you have it set up, it's incredible.
I think it's like a muscle. You know what? I was once reading, Andrew Huberman was saying that there's this part of the brain that develops when you do things that you really hate. So apparently it's like maybe the anterior prefrontal cortex. When you do things which you genuinely hate and you push yourself to it, that part of your brain develops. So, yeah, speaking of which,
Amazing. That's what they need to do.
um, yeah, let's talk about the mental health, or let's say the stress that is put on kids, because I think this is also like a big one. Um, do you think that because of the force of competition or the force of grades, let's say, or always acing things, does it put pressure on the kids or on students? And how does it reflect on them, basically, from your experience?
Yeah, this is another thing that I wanted to mention about changing the school system. Is we spoke about this last time? Is that the exams? I'm sorry, are way, way, way too heavily weighted, I guess,
Hmm.
for lack of a better word. As in, you have an exam which is 70% of your grade or 50% of your grade, or maybe you're studying for 2 years to do the A levels
Hmm.
or the diploma, the IB. It's too much. It's just too much. In my opinion, it's first of all too much pressure to put on a teenager to prepare for years for just a few hours. You can study for years and have a bad few hours, and then your academic career takes a huge step back. Meanwhile, this student would be a star in the classroom.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I have so many students, and we've all had friends like this, who they do great with the homework, they answer questions, they do great with the quiz. When it comes to the big test, they
Yeah.
just can't perform. They get stressed out, or they blank out, or whatever it is. And this really deters their confidence, really. And it's a shame because they really are a good learner. What does that test prove? That day they didn't perform. And plus, real life is not like that. It's extremely rare where you'll be called on to, immediately on the spot recall some information without, prior notice. It's a surprise question, right? You don't know the questions that are there, and you can't look up any resources and you can't ask for help. What are you teaching people? You know,
Hmm.
there is one thing about tests that I need to mention, though. It does help you understand things better because in preparing for a test, it's very, very critical. When you're preparing for a test, you're looking at things extremely carefully and you're looking at them meticulously and you're looking at them from different angle. You are anticipating some questions that may come. You are learning to think under pressure. Obviously, you're learning to manage your time when you're answering these questions. There are benefits, but 70% of your grade, why? Too much. Too much. This is another thing, for example, that you can let students choose. Do you want a 70% exam, or would you rather do a presentation? Or would you rather have your class participation worth more? How about that? Let them be involved in how they are assessed. I think that would be okay. I know, though, that what might happen, I understand, is some students will say, I'll make my test 100%. I'll worry about it later. And they will do nothing all year and, of course,
Yeah.
not perform on the test. So, you know, sometimes they have these ideas, and they won't do the right thing, unfortunately. So there's a limit, I guess, to how much freedom we can give students. I mean, I feel bad saying that, but it's for their own good. I
Do you
can see
think
myself like wagging my finger. Yeah.
do you think it's needed to differentiate between the MVPs and normal students? And let's say the high
Mm.
performers. Like, do you think that the current grading system reflects on the high performance? Or how can I
I
differentiate
don't.
between them?
That's a tough one. That's an amazing question, and that's what we use tests for and grades,
Yeah.
right? This guy is an A student. This guy's a C student because mostly they did well or did not do well on a test. How else would you differentiate? Again, it's the work in the class and stuff, but it's not as simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's participation is not as easily judged or graded or assessed, let's say, than a test. A test is very easy. This is the right answer, this is the wrong answer, mostly. In English, it could be subjective, for example, or history if you're writing an essay. But overall, that's how it is, right? You get certain points for certain targets, and if you meet those targets, then you get your points. There's these exams, for example, okay? For some reason, it's been happening with my students a lot this year, where, and I just made a reel about it, where they come and they say, oh, I got 40% on my test. And I say, oh, that's terrible. What happened? You're usually better than that. And they say, no, the class average was 30. I got an A. What kind of exam? What's the point of this exam? You're trying to kill people's confidence. It's these exams that teachers make so hard that everybody fails and ends up looking bad, including the teacher. The testing system is not all it's cracked out to be. But in terms of grading or placing students, okay, is it so important to be good at a test? Maybe. I don't think so. What job requires you to be very, very good at a test? But then it becomes, what will you grade them on, right? That's what you're asking.
Okay. Yeah, like what can I grade them on? Like maybe
What can you assess?
to, for example, making a test, or let's say a skill test for the most needed skills in a day-to-day life. For example, human skills, emotional intelligence, sorry, negotiation skills, sales, memorizing. So maybe categorizing the exams in a way where it reflects in real life.
Different, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be
like
absolutely amazing. Yeah, that would be good. That way everybody gets a chance, because Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's stupid.
yeah, exactly.
So different people have different skills. They're made for different things. So if you just keep testing people in the same way, then the same type of person will perform. The same type of person will get those high grades if you're looking just for that type of person. But I don't think that's very useful, because, as you're saying, we can test different aptitudes. But then the question becomes, who's going to make these 7 different tests or whatever? For every single student, we have to test 7 different things. I mean, we kind of do already, don't we? I don't know, but it's not something to be looked at. There is one thing I would add, is that when we are judging the grades, it might be, and here I'm going on an extreme, I'm just almost brainstorming with you this idea that I've had, is that we always grade them by subject. Whereas in my opinion, it would be better to grade them on skill, almost like you're saying, or how can I, not skill, but almost like personality trait. Like, this person has very strong communication or type of intelligence. How about that? This guy's very mathematical, analytical. This guy's very, very good linguistically. This guy's very good kinesthetic intelligence or interpersonal intelligence. These are more valuable, in my opinion. I'm not sure how you would test that, but AI comes to mind.
Yeah,
If you can have
actually,
somebody assess
I think that would be amazing, actually, because, for example, let's say in a company or in an enterprise or whatever it is, like a clinic, any workplace, you see these people who are good at a certain thing, and, for example, negotiation, or, for example, sales. They
Yes,
like it's a human skill. Like, it's a human skill that they need to use in that workplace. And those who
that's right.
fine tune that skill are the ones who go up the hierarchy because of that skill. So maybe, like, trying to show or trying to find a way to detect which skill
Exactly.
each individual are good in is going to be very good in reflecting that in real life and workplace, because we already from school we know that this person is good in this, so maybe we should put him or her in that
Of
workplace.
course, you nurture it, right? You don't
Mm,
you don't pull them away from that. You lean into it if that's the case, which is great. I agree with you on that. And that doesn't have to be a test, by the way, to find out if somebody's an excellent communicator. You don't need to be testing this person. You kind
yep.
of more need to be observing them in different situations. I mean, you can have them do a presentation, sure, but
Mm,
it's more of an overall. You see what their relationships are like with other students, with other teachers, and yeah, that would be good. If you're testing characteristics rather than subject, I think that would go further. You can still have the subjects, but the way that you grade or assess people might be better off, doing the other thing,
Yeah.
I see,
doing the
yeah.
traits. Yeah, true.
Where are you going next now?
Like with your entrepreneur, let's say, thing of teaching, tutoring. Do you have any plans in mind for later on in the future?
I mean, I have big plans for myself. I won't lie,
Hmm.
but I do want to preach what I'm preaching. Exactly what we're talking about, especially
Hmm.
the mindset and motivation of students, because I think this is sorely lacking, and I believe that I'm very capable. And the reason that I found success is because I'm able to communicate this with the students, especially with the teenage students, in such a way that they are finding it so useful, really. And I'm opening up their love of learning, and I'm taking the stress out of learning.
Hmm.
Again, not to blame school, but whatever's going on, there's a lot of stress around learning and exams, and I'm really taking away a lot of the stress. Like families, mothers and students, they get stress out of their relationship, and they become closer, and I think that's just wonderful. I love being part of that, and I would love to be in an auditorium with 5,000 people explaining this to them, or even in a room with teachers and reminding them, because I know they know. Anybody who became a teacher has what I'm talking about already in their mind or in their hearts, to get a little bit touchy. But sometimes they're overwhelmed and they can't get to it. And I'd like to form a formal training for parents, for teachers, for anybody who'd like to reincorporate this into students' learning. I think it would be fantastic.
You know,
Something crossed my mind now when we were talking about.
helping and preaching the idea to parents and teachers and so on. Um, from what I know is that kids keep on being programmed, let's say, or their character keeps on being developed and intuition and so on, up to maybe around like 7 years old. Now, with that idea in mind, let's keep it on one side. Have you noticed that is there like an age where you see you are teaching more than the other? Meaning, the group age for kids, is it more for you or for the teenagers is higher? And by that question, I mean, is there like a tipping point for education in a group age? Did I make
For
myself
them
clear?
for them to absorb and benefit from, or what do you mean?
For them, let's say, for us to see that they have deviated off the track. Like,
Hmm.
did you get what I mean?
Like, how would you be able to tell, or where are we losing them? Is that about right?
Yes. Where are we
Yeah.
losing the kids and the education when it comes to their age? Is there an age that we
Hmm.
are losing them on?
Yeah, I would say around like grade 5, to be honest.
Oh.
And this is what I've seen. I tutor usually a little bit older, but always my students, they have siblings, let's
Mm,
say, and I end up teaching some younger. Around grade 5, they start getting assessed in the formal way, in the tests and this kind of thing. So the focus shifts a little bit. When
mm,
there are no tests, again, you need tests. Okay, that's fine. How much
mm,
weight is placed on them? That's debatable. But before tests are introduced, before there's even homework, let's say, there is nothing but learning for you to do. You go to school, you learn how to be a social human being around other human beings, right? You learn to listen to an authoritative figure, hopefully an expert in their field, which is beneficial. You get to learn how to live on a schedule and stuff, but you're focused on learning. You're just open to learning. You're learning new things. When you're a little bit older, you start thinking about homework and tests, and then it starts to become more structured, and then you have stakes. The stakes are higher. So they get a little bit, some students respond well, some students don't really respond well. They kind of shut down. They start to dislike school, of course. Why do I need to learn this? That kind of thing starts to come up. Um, so I'd say, yeah, it's around grade 5, grade 6, and it's about typical. Unfortunately, that's also when they're about to enter their teens. Grade 6, grade 7 is like 12, 13 years old, and that's a tough age.
I'm thinking about it. Like it could be
Also, one of the solutions that between, let's say, grade 1 to 4 or 1 to 5, for us to structure them, like this has to be the best time to teach them how to learn. like, or to
Absolutely.
teach
You're so
them,
right. Yeah.
prepare them for later. That will like maybe stop or let's say minimize a huge part of the problem. I think maybe
Mhm.
we, like as you mentioned, like in grade five is where you have observed that you have the most students or where they start the tipping point, which is because
Mhm.
now they are put on the spot and we haven't,
Yep.
let's say, noticed that they needed the assistance from before. But if we prepare them when they are younger to teach them how to learn, maybe when they are like in grade five, six, seven, and eight, they already know how to manage and they wouldn't need as much probably.
That's right. So it's not just how to learn, but also how to stay motivated and how to
Mhm.
have this growth mindset. Because a lot of them, when they first, they get a bad grade, they say, okay, I'm bad at math.
Mhm.
Let me put that in my personality folder. But it's not true. It's not true. You can be bad at math for now. You can improve your math skills. It's just a skill that you can improve. And not everybody's going to be a top math, but you don't have to be bad at anything. You can, in my opinion, you can pretty much learn anything enough to get by far. But also the power of learning, how to learn something on your own. Me and my kids, we have this thing, it's a learning list. And
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing that I've done with them is that when they don't understand something, I say, well, I don't know. Let's learn about it. And we put it on a list, okay? And we watch videos on it, or we ask Siri, or you look it up together, or we have these, animal books or country books, and we look them up. And now, whenever they don't understand something, they say, Baba, put it on the list. And I say, perfect.
Ah,
And this list is beautiful. You know what this list does? This list means they don't understand something. They are happy. They put it on a list, which shows their intention to learn
Correct.
that, and then we learn it. It's a beautiful thing. On top of that, I show them the list now. The list now has 30, 40 topics, and I say, guys, remember we learned about this and this and this. You should see the confidence it builds. Nothing builds confidence like when you keep a promise to yourself. So imagine keeping a promise to yourself that I'm going to learn something and you actually learn it. It's a huge, huge self-esteem boost. If we can do that to younger kids, like my kids age, it will be amazing for them when they enter these grade 5 and 6 and 7, start getting tested, start getting assessed. It feels a little weird to them at first, but if they can understand that they can learn what they need to, and they can learn what they want to, they can still keep that joy of learning something out of curiosity. It'd be fantastic. I think it'd be amazing.
you know what? It's a really good way of approaching things because I think people are have this tendency of being afraid of not knowing something because they will be
Yes.
momentarily judged on it momentarily. They don't have the time to research it. But like what you're doing with your daughters is that it's hey, it's okay to not know things. If you don't know it, write it
100%.
down. Let's go research it, and now you know. So it's totally fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, sometimes they ask me stuff and don't tell them this, but sometimes I know the answer and I say, I don't know. Because
Mhm.
for one thing, I want them to understand that I don't have all the answers. Don't
Yeah.
rely on me. Sometimes I'm not going to know. Second of all, I want them to know it's okay not to know. I'm not frustrated. I just tell them I don't know. It's normal. Nobody knows everything. You'll never
Hmm.
know everything. You always
Yeah.
have something to learn. And third of all, I want them to understand that if you don't know, go find out. You can go find out. We can learn it. I'm not gonna have all the answers. You're not gonna have all the answers, so don't get frustrated. You can find it. So it's wonderful for them to see that, I think. And I think all students, I wish it for all students, is to understand it's okay not to know. We have this epidemic now where it's I know it or I don't. It's just not true. You can figure it out. You can grind out the answer. And I think I mentioned this last time also on the podcast, is those are the most satisfying solves, is when I start out or the student starts out not knowing, right? They don't know and then they piece it together. Beautiful. Again, it's a confidence boost when you can learn on your own. If you can learn on your own, you feel unstoppable.
Yeah.
That's amazing,
It's
actually.
great.
I like that.
Yeah.
Uh, is there anything that you would like to talk about before we close up? Is there anything that from your side I didn't mention? Is there anything that I didn't get in touch on?
I mean, I have to say, free Palestine. And
All right.
I'm sad that it's our second time meeting, and the genocide is still ongoing,
Still
unfortunately.
on.
And I'm proud to represent for my people, which is a very studious and very educated people. And I always feel a little bit of a responsibility to take advantage of all these chances. And it would be a dream come true if I can help them, become amazing learners and take advantage of this knowledge, for sure. So I'm hoping to put together a program where we can reach out to the community there, and yeah, do my part, for sure.
It's really frustrating, like to see that.
That people who had to say nothing to do with any of the conflicts get damaged and lives are being wasted for
Absolutely,
nothing,
yeah.
for human greed, let's say somehow. It's very weird.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'll never understand this thirst for power. This
Honestly, like
at this
I
at
I
any
don't understand
cost.
humans. I don't understand humans. Like when
I
I
know.
think about it, like why is it that humans keep on focusing on, let's say, damaging each other? Like why is it so easy to go that path other than the peaceful path, let's say, in a sense? I don't understand it. I don't understand the
Right,
tendency
right.
for humans to have this power and controlling, and it's weird.
Yeah, at this cost, that like you'll do anything, you'll destroy nations, you'll destroy civilians, people. I can't picture it. For me personally, I can't picture wanting some power that badly. I can't. It's
It's so
beyond
weird.
me, unfortunately. But there you go.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Khaled. It's been a pleasure,
Thank
honestly.
you.
I always like talking to you. Wish
Me
you
too.
nothing but the
Thank you
best
so much for
and your
having me. Really
family. You are most welcome.
appreciate
Barki,
it.
maybe on 2026 I'll have you again.
Hopefully, I'm up for it.
Yeah, thank you
Sounds
so much.
good.
Thank you.
All right, my
See you.
friend.
Bye bye.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye.